Hello guys, and today I want to talk to you about RNG in SMITE Tactics. So first I want to introduce about the different type of RNG. You have the total RNG and then you have the control RNG. And while I think RNG is good for a game like this, for card games in a board break, like a CCG like SMITE Tactic is, I really don't like the total RNG cards, and that is mainly my opinion, right? You can disagree with me. I'm just, saying my point of view here. So I don't want to offend any of you, but because total RNG doesn't take the skills that you have for the game doesn't impact the total RNG, while the control RNG can be controlled a little bit with skills, right? So let me give you a little bit of difference between cards that are control RNG and total RNG. Right here, right off the bat, we have a total RNG card, which means, the main definition is that no matter what a player do, a total RNG will not change its outcome no matter what the players do. For example, Discord, right? Or a better example of that will be, let me see, in Egyptian, for example, here, Book of Thought, right? So that's one of the best examples. You're going to discover 3 random cards. So no matter what you're trying to do, no matter what you played before, no matter what you're positioning on the board, no matter what, it will be 3 random choice. You cannot affect that randomness on Book of Thought, and that is total RNG. Man, that's hard. Anyways, while control RNG is something like Ritual Tribute, which reads spawn a random god from your graveyard, it gains +2/+2. So this means that Ritual Tribute is random, but you can control it. For example, if you only had a Neith that die, you're sure it's going to be the Neith. If you have a Neith and a Gab, you know it's going to be between Neith and Gab that you're going to revive somebody with your Ritual Tribute. And that is what I like, right? Because with deck building and with skills, you can affect the RNG outcome of this. So let me give you a few examples of the control RNG in the game. Clay Soldiers, right here. Clay Soldiers. So, with positioning, your Clay Soldier can be between multiple targets or only be between one target. Even if it's RNG, you're able to control it, and I really like that. You have the Imperial Archer, so you can decide to attack and kill some of your enemy units before starting to get the spells, to get these RNG shots to a little fewer targets. You have OE, depending on the positioning of your enemy may be able to avoid the random, or he could, if he really wants to save one guy and could not move it anywhere else, he could try to put everything adjacent to each other. So you're gonna have, the increased chance of randomness will be higher. You have, what else then? I made a little list just to give you, I may have missed some in the game, but mainly one. Circuit is also control RNG, depending what you put to surround her, or where you move her to kill something, and then maybe last breath the other thing, right? That's control RNG. It's up to the player to control that. You have last breath, also the number of stuff on the board if you decide to kill something, and then last breath the rest of it. Ritual Tribute, like we talk about it. We have Book of the Dead also, right? It may seem a lot of randomness, but it's still controlled. How many gods did you kill? Or is your opponent doesn't play any god, and then you have to kill your own gods in order to play the Book of the Dead. Then we go into Greek. Divine Interventions, really interesting. You're drawing gods from your deck, so you decide which god you put into your deck. So you're going to draw based on that. If you really just want 4 gods and run one Divine Intervention, then you will be sure, like, your percent of chance to drawing these gods are really high. And then we go to Norse. You have Mayhem. Mayhem is right here. The more units you put on board, the better are your chances, and that's, as a player, you can affect that RNG. You have Fate also, reducing the targets, makes it more accurate. You have Valhalla's Blessing because it adds a random Norse card. So you could play like a lot of neutral cards and a really few OP Norse cards, and you could be sure to draw that Norse card. Now let's move into what I feel the less interesting part of the game and the less interesting part of RNG, and that's something that I really don't like, and I really hope that we're not going to see any more of these, and if so, they could remove it, right? Because when you talk about total RNG, the players can affect that, and it means that a game could be decided on one of the huge RNG that you just roll like that, and in a competitive game, it is not really fun to lose or win on an RNG roll, right? I believe that, well, I believe, right? That's the important word here, that Harris changed the summoning stones from the leader to be different from other games, but I don't understand, why they're still doing like discovery stuff like Valhalla's Blessing, sorcery, which is total RNG, and this one is not a problem in itself, but some other ones are really powerful depending on the outcome of the RNG, and it's so hard for the opponents to play around something that is completely RNG, right? If you don't know what your opponent discover, how can you play around that, right? And that's the thing. If you want to have a game a lot more competitive and skill-based competitively, I believe that you want to lower the total RNG. I mean, given that it's already a card game and that every single one of your draw is a lot of RNG, you want to be, that's how I feel. So to go rapidly again on that, we have Evolve, which you spawn a total random beast, right? So no matter what's the board states or what your hand or anything that you do, you'll not be able to change that outcome. It's still gonna be random beast. I'm not saying it's OP or anything. I'm just saying, you can adapt the mana cost on that and everything. So you have Evolve, you have then you go in Egypt, you have Recruiter, and I didn't put that into control RNG because most of the players will just put good cards in their deck. So if you're just going to put good cards in your deck, well, it's not affected by your opponent who's going to put a bad card in it. So, as players, you can't really play around that because you just want good cards in your deck. So then Recruiter becomes a total RNG card. Then we have Recruiter, and in the same matter, you have Sentry Ward. That's basically the same thing. Then you have Touches Midas. Touches Midas discovers a god from all the pantheons, right? Total RNG again. You have Bulwark of Hope. Not, completely random again. You have the Book of Thought. The Valhalla Sorcery. You have Web of Word. Man, that card. Not gonna talk about that one. I could go for hour about Web of Word. And then you have on Romans, you have Sagittarius, right? Who's also like that. It's just random stuff. And you have did I mention Discord? Yeah, I mentioned it in the beginning. So Discord. So yeah, these are total RNG cards, and they're not really, it's super hard to balance them, and I just feel like it's not fun to play with or against that. Some people may like it, and it's cool, but from a competitive point of view, I feel like you should reward skill instead of reward RNG. So yeah, I really wanted to talk about you, but one of the biggest thing I want to address with the RNG is how random spawns work, right? And I feel that this could bring a lot more tactical implication to the game, and we should probably have to review balance, but they made a lot of big changes saying that they could balance after. This is exactly what I'm saying. What if for a moment, whenever you play, for example, you play Ritual Tribute, right? you could have this, choose the spawn point, right? It's still going to be random, but you can still choose the spawn point. Because ritual tributing it when you're in the offensive and spot something way in the back, it's not really what you want, right? If you're going to ritual tribute something and your opponent and you're losing the offensive and you want it in the defensive side and if put it exactly in the middle of your adjacent to your leader who's going to die soon, it's still not really effective, right? That's not what you wanted to do. So it feels like it's counteracting itself sometimes. Cards like ritual tribute, and I'm really talking about the control RNG a little bit more, that you can control it a little bit more. For example, even cards from like Recruiter with total RNG, you could at least choose the spawn location of the random unit that you spawn. Will be nice. It will be really cool and bring a lot of tactical stuff to the game and make maybe these cards, you know, a little bit different and a little less like, oh my god, oh I forgot, I think I forgot a card, guys. I forgot Vulcan, right? Yeah. No, Vulcan is not random, but you know the point of random spawns is the same thing. If you could at least choose where to put the turret, since it can't even move, and that will, you know, remove stuff like Sagittarius spawning a turret to your base. That's completely useless if you're attacking right now, and it's just really awkward. And it will add a little bit more consistency to the game. What else do we have? You know, evolve, at least trying to put the beast in the spot that you want. You could maybe even try to body block. So yeah, you know, I really want to tell Harris to maybe review these. And I know it may feel a little bit OP, but like I said, we could probably adjust how the, you know, how the cards are, and you know, just maybe lowering or upgrading their stats or their mana cost. But yeah, I just feel like in a tactical game that's like SMITE Tactics, do Harris want to go really with a more friendly total RNG game similar to Hearthstone, or do they really want to go more skill-based focus and around the cards and the plays? And you know, like for example, Magic the Gathering, there's a lot less RNG in that game. So yeah, it's really up to Ares to decide which path they want to go, and we're going to see it really soon. You know, if we see a lot more of Discover cards and a lot more spawn random stuff and deal random stuff that players cannot, you know, cannot control, then we're going to head more around a game where it's, you know, some of the games will be decided by total RNG, and then you have other ones, if they decided to go with less of these cards, then the positioning and the skill and the choice of your cards and everything will be a lot more impactful in the games, and I think it will be a little bit more interesting, but it's not my decision. So I just want to share with you guys this concern about the RNG and what's happening right now in Tactics and where we at and where we may be in the future. So I hope that you learned a lot today. I hope that it was interesting, and I'll see you soon.